think what you're seeing in the 80s is a result of the agreement with Multnomah County leaders, elected leaders, City of Portland leaders, to have us annexed. It was done as an intergovernmental agreement. Intergovernmental agreements mean that two elected leaders can sit in their room at that point and write the agreement, and there's no public process. There were this group of people out there that appeared to be $7.50 each coming into the city of Portland. So it was like a giant grant program for the city of Portland.
In 1986, East County has its municipal services cut. Police, park, and planning services are no longer under the jurisdiction of Multnomah County.
I have studied the situation and determined that the only way for East County to receive necessary urban services is through joining the City of Portland.
But I think by that time, a lot of people living in this area could see change was going to happen. And the question is, did they want it done to them, or did they want to participate in it? But whether or not it did, we thought it was appropriate that people have a chance to vote, which did not happen with annexation.
We've never had any government, elected or appointed, who had any desire to protect the interests of the citizens of Mid-County.
Talk about transparency. There was none around the annexation effort, ever. It was never transparent. It was generally, here's what we're going to do.
Housing developers in the 1960s were not required to connect to Portland sewers. They simply drilled down and created septic tanks for these new stretches of suburban homes. It was a building trend that had dramatic consequences decades later.
Kim Pearsall is a recently divorced mother who makes $20,000 a year. She has 2 young children and is expecting a 3rd child in December. She receives minimal child support. Her child care alone costs over $400 a month. Her friends help her pay for her groceries. She does not qualify for the full safety net. She will likely lose her home. How do you tell her sewers are affordable?
After annexation, 56,000 homeowners are required to hook up to Portland's sewer system. Because the ballot measure to fund sewers failed, the average cost to fund sewer lines per household was between $5,000 and $9,000. Total costs ran upwards of $255 million, mostly paid by East County residents.
It was a complex primarily filled with just refugees from the Vietnam War, a lot of, Hmong families as well as Lao families, Mien, Vietnamese. There was just a large population of us around there, and it was really fun to be kind of in a place. I remember as a kid, just being able to play with all of the neighbors and their kids, and we would just have so much fun. The little dirt patch right next to the apartment complex. He worked really hard to support us. At one time, he had 2 full-time jobs, from 8 until 5, and then he'd work like a swing shift from like 6 until, midnight or 1. Initially, all of her family was here in Portland, but they all started moving down to California because the benefits were better. It's really hard to see how Portland has changed because of the gentrification, right? I mean, there used to be like a Black community here, and Alberta was starting to get gentrified. Driving down those streets, I mean, it's really hard for me to drive down those streets because I used to live right down on Killingsworth, Alberta, Mississippi, all of those streets. And so it's really different, and there's no Black community. I mean, there are some families there still, but it's less and less and less. my work right now, we are working on that because 82nd is like a really big hub for a lot of Asian-owned businesses and Asian families. Their rents are rising. We were already kind of pushed out far, and now the thought of even being pushed out further, that's pretty scary.
The Jade District, although the name implies a very Asian American identity, is comprehensive of many different ethnic backgrounds.
The Jade District is part of a new system of urban revitalization spearheaded by the Portland Development Commission. The Jade is one of 8 districts around Portland that will receive capacity building support and funding, around $1 million over the next 10 years. Community organizations are working with Metro to build affordable housing and a community space on the corner of 82nd and Division.
Pano is hoping to be a part of that process and really being a voice at the table. The last thing that we want to see is our communities being pushed out.
You know, I think there's enough groups and communities of color talking about this and bringing it up to, you know, the mayor, county commissioners, the Portland Housing Bureau, things like that. I just want to see traction and to see those changes.